Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our weekly political recap. My name is Trups LP, and with me, as always, is the lovely, moist Omegon. Please say hello, Omegon.
Hello, Omegon.
How is Omegon?
Enthusiastic, as you can clearly tell.
Yes,
How's
well,
Trups?
I kind of feel that in my own way. So,
How are
we're
you
gonna
doing?
muscle through it. I'm doing all right. It's a bit, I've been enjoying some really nice weather out here,
Oh, really?
and then today it starts fucking raining. And I'm just like, oh.
We've had... It's autumn now. Things are starting to get a bit, cooler, which I'm okay with. This is okay for me. Today, had to leave the house 3 times to go to work in the morning, then go to the gym, and then go to work again. On all 3 occasions, I got soaked. My washing basket is full of drenched clothing. Well, I've wrung it out, but it's still, soaked. Granted,
I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose, yeah?
I mean, the gym one's all right because, it was already sweaty anyway. It needs to go in the wash. It's fine.
Sure.
My raincoat did not help. I was not happy. But it's fine. It's fine. Got things to do.
Fine.
Got lots going on. I have an idea for a video that I want to do. But I need to flesh it out and reach out to a few people to make little bits for it. I've had stuff going on in my head, and I'm just like, I need to get it out. But I don't want to share it too much with the peasantry, in case someone spoils it.
Yeah, you know me. I'm always spoiling your fun.
No, not you. I mean,
I know.
I mean, literally just the chat. Hi, chat. And hello, the 194 people on Spotify that follow us.
Yes. If you have not followed us on Spotify, please be sure to do so, because that would make us really happy, and you want us to be happy because that would make us keep making content.
Why don't you love us on there?
Why don't you love me? No. E-begging aside, I do appreciate all those here. Hit that like button. And so where would you like to start this whole debacle?
So,
I know that media has been a bit
it's a bit
boring.
of a mess. It's okay. So this week in the United Kingdom, there have been 3 things that have been going on. One, though, I want to save for my main channel on Tuesday. A Halls of Injustice on a guy that's been given what I'd argue to be, under UK law, the correct sentence. But I would say the same applies to anyone who commits this crime. The thing is, though, with what's been going on within this this whole trial and all the politicians around, a murder has been heavily politicized, and I'm not against the idea of using something to make a grander point. I'm really not. But I think it's very poor taste to do this so close to what has happened. And I think it's really... So, for those who don't know, in the United Kingdom, a young woman called Sarah Everard was, let's call it, wrongly arrested, because she was, by a man called Wayne Couzens, or Couzens, Couzens. For a while, we didn't know who it was, but there are some videos of him blaming Eastern Europeans. There's a video of him 3 days earlier, or 3 days after, at McDonald's. Apparently that implicates him somehow. I don't know how, because I haven't gone through all the tabs yet.
McDonald's. That's just where the bad people go, dude.
You have a point. Life for everyone that buys mango.
No.
No, screw it. You should all go to prison. You should all go to prison from McDonald's. Okay, Burger King's better. Anyway, no, I don't think it's that crap anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. But he was eventually arrested. He has a nickname, by the way. His nickname is The Rapist. His fellow colleagues at the police called him The Rapist. I believe, by the way, the McDonald's thing, I think he flashed somebody his cock. Was it at McDonald's or somewhere else? I don't know.
I don't know, but okay, maybe he does deserve to be at least fined for that.
Yeah, that's a separate crime and obviously should be treated with equal severity to a murder. But he was eventually arrested. Evidence was gathered. He just gave up and went, okay, yo, I did this. All right?
Interesting.
A trial happened. He was given a sentence, a whole life term, which in the United Kingdom is incredibly rare. And so while that was going on and this trial was happening, politicians like Harriet Harman, Jess Phillips, and a bunch of other politicians, mostly on the Labour benches, were indicating that her case, Sarah Everard's murder, along with a few others, one ongoing, in fact, that I won't talk about because it's ongoing in the courts, that is, not the murder part.
And your country hates you talking about real things that are happening.
It does, but it's fine. We're used to it at this point. We'll get to the weapon part soon, I'm sure. But the when it came to what they were saying, Harriet Harman, we were talking just before we started this, and I pointed out Harriet Harman said that we need, first of all, Cressida Dick, the commissioner for the Metropolitan Police, should resign. She was given a 2-year extension.
Name, by the way.
Cressida Dick. I think her name's ironic, but I'm not allowed to say why. She doesn't like Dick.
Okay. Ah, well.
I thought that was amusing to me anyway, and I'm a child, of course. But
I refrained for once.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Have a star. So Cressida has apologized, and that's the best she can do. She's been in a number of 7 or 8 scandals at this point, and they're called scandals loosely. I'd argue about 5 are legit. This is one of them. Let's ignore the legit shooting of somebody that should never have happened by the police. Well done, gents. You should be proud of yourself for that one. Yeah. Let's just ignore everything else for a moment. I was going to do a video on this, by the way, on Cressida, but refrained. I've got the notes in my book here. Let's go. I could actually just pull the notes up. Let's have a look. Let's see. In her 4.5 years involved in scandals. Oh no, it actually doesn't say which ones. Because I have the source link there instead, which would tell me what the scandals were. That's precious. Well done, me. But anyway, the other things they mentioned within this, Harriet Harman and Jess Phillips. Harriet suggested it being illegal for curb crawling in a car. Men should lose their driver's license. Wolf whistling, catcalling, and walking too close to a woman should be arrestable offences. And all this because of the Sarah Everard, as it using that and a load of others, because they've also, I think it's a Newcastle local paper. They're publishing an article tomorrow, I believe, or front cover with 88, I believe it's 88 women's faces on, indicating how many women have died over a certain amount of time, with a caption similar to that of, when are we going to do, when are people going to do something about this crime of violence against women and children. Now I have to ask, just because I am that kind of person. Do they take the same amount of interest in men who die? No.
I would like to see. You mentioned 88 women's photos.
Mm-hmm.
They don't happen to have the man's photos who had died last month.
No. I can't imagine why, and I really do get their point, because they're standing up for women, and Harriet Harman is, as much as I cringe at this idea of only focusing on one group and come up with these ridiculous solutions, air quotes around that word, she is at least consistent. She's a very devout...
She does not care about people. Got it.
Well, no, she doesn't care about men. She's a very devout. She's a very devout feminist, and she always. And I say that as if it's a cult and a religion. The way when she was in Parliament under Labour, always pushing for women's rights, always defending women's rights, and I have nothing but respect for her for that. Genuinely, because a lot of the issues she actually fought for were right.
Do you want me to rock the boat really hard?
Go on.
Does she believe that trans women are women?
I don't know.
Has anyone asked? But that'd be an interesting way to question that. See how much she actually cares.
I'm not. That is a good point. I don't know the answer to that, truthfully. But and while I know there's a lot of she would take a lot of shit for some of the dumb things she says. More recent, that obviously the arresting people for wolf whistling, catcalling, and walking too close to. I walk past so many people on my way to work. What are you going to do? Create a line down the middle of the road and give guys a really thin line they can walk down, and the women the majority of the path? I'm
just waiting for them to create just conveyor belts that we can all walk through. At that point they're not even walking. They're just
I want my 10k steps. Well, I do 20 at the moment, but I'd like my 20k steps per day. I'm not cheating, all right?
Yeah, but
But I get you. You are right.
I was going to be rude to feminists for a second.
Go
I
on,
was
be
going to
rude.
say,
Be
you
rude,
know
be
that
rude.
you know they ain't walking.
That's a fair point, actually. They do waddle.
They do. Sometimes they roll.
You know, I made some crass jokes here and there. No one picked up on them. It's fine. It's fine. I think I did in yesterday's OSP where I quickly mentioned all the sample size of 12 on the obesity thing. If you put them all together, they still don't equal Tess Holiday. And I got
you know she has an eating disorder. You gotta be kind. She has anorexia, man.
Is that
you
why every
you
photo
gotta
I
be
see of her,
kind
she's
to
missing
that?
something? All right, you got a point. You got a point. I'll ignore the more recent picture of her eating an ice lolly at Disneyland then, since it's obviously well said. It's 0 calories. So people are politicizing this and they're pushing for changes to UK law to protect women. I believe Boris is resisting it, not because he doesn't agree, but because I think he believes this might be a bit dangerous. And I do think it needs to be a bit more. It needs to be more considerate to all, and not just pushed as a gendered issue, which is very dangerous. Because then you really are creating a protected class, and we have this on YouTube enough as it is. We don't need that as well. But ignoring that for a second, Wayne Couzens will spend his whole life in prison for a murder, which he's a former police officer, so he's screwed anyway. He goes to prison, he's gonna get well, it's gonna be a race to see who gets there first. But it's unique in the UK because we rarely do it. The only other one I know about, I believe, is Rose West, and I'll be honest, I'm surprised she's still going at this. Oh, is she dead now? Doesn't matter. She got a whole life term, I believe, as well. There are a few others that have gotten them, but it's really rare. And I find this interesting because I'm starting because murder as a crime, and with there being, I've covered very unique murders in the United Kingdom where the sentence has not been a whole life term, yet the murder itself has been levels of brutal I couldn't believe possible. Yet I've made those videos and they've not gotten those whole life terms. And that leads me to believe that because of how this was politicised, Wayne Couzens' sentence was impacted from that and from the media coverage. So the judge, whoever it was presiding, and I haven't looked at all the sources yet, I think it's a case he could appeal the sentence and probably get it reduced because of it. Obviously, reduced from whole life to life. Now, my view is whole life should stay. But if you're going to be consistent, I think a few other murders should be addressed and perhaps resentenced accordingly. Because if I've got someone down to 17 years for a murder and they're out in 9, but someone's serving a whole life term, I get it's means assessed, by the way, but at the same time, I'm a dick when it comes to crime.
Well, it's actually an interesting question because this one, feel free to not answer should you want to. But one of the interesting things is I have mixed opinions when it comes to the heinousness of certain crimes and the age of the people who then commit said crimes.
Yeah.
Obviously, the most impactful for your audience, the audience of this channel, would be the Venables trial.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Would you now consider that he should not have had, even despite his age at the time, gotten to get out at 18?
So you actually raise a really good point, and it's where my issue where I have an issue. I can't answer the question because I genuinely don't know how to answer that.
Right. I mean, it is one of those really tough ones, and I often find myself in some of these moral or ethical conundrums where I find myself.
I think it's
not.
Go on.
It's not hypocritical. It's one of the nuanced cases that falls outside of the usual.
I think it is because it involves children. That's why. I don't think when it comes to adults, nuance plays a part at all. When it's adults, it's like you're murdered, ta-ta, see ya, sayonara. Just go into one of those cells, don't come out. And I know people like to talk about rehab and stuff. I take no issue with rehabilitating people. I really don't. I'm not saying, by the way, some crimes can't be rehabilitated. It's a really difficult thing to traverse. I just found it fascinating that over the years I've been covering crime on my main channel, this one got a whole life term.
Right.
And
No, and that is fair. And the only reason I put you on the spot there is because I think that it is actually worth asking the question because it does bring up something that ordinarily people would go, well, there are the outlying cases, and how does one then handle that? And the answer is circumstantially. You don't necessarily need to treat every child like an adult. In my opinion, however, given all of the things that we know now about the Venables story, he probably could have gone away for life, and I wouldn't have been concerned.
I think he would have been forgotten very quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, and thank you, Bimby. Reduced jail? What about Brit Trump assassin?
I don't even know what that means. You have to be a little bit more specific. You don't have to donate again, but I'm confused.
Thank you for the $2 donation, Bimby. I really appreciate that. I don't know what your question means, though, so please feel free to ask underneath, and I will also fix the super chats at some point.
But yeah, I didn't mean to tangent you away, but it was something that it goes into my mind.
So the whole life term thing has been issued, and that's about it, really. I'm waiting to see what happens next when it comes to Parliament with regards to whether or not this will be then further politicised. I think it's in poor taste. I get why they want to pounce on it while it's hot, but I don't think there's a version of Optex where this looks good unless you manage to force feed it down people's throats. And considering the family is still grieving, and while they themselves believe in justice, they have said that the whole life term is justice. I don't think it's right to continue doing this for a little while at least. But that's obviously tricky to determine because grief affects people differently.
True.
But that's taken up a huge bulk of British media coverage. I remember going onto every major news site in the UK, and there were 10 to 15 articles on each site on the top, all covering the same thing, and all of them doing roughly the same aspects as if they were unique in some manner.
Oh, you mean everybody is reporting the same exact way? We have that problem.
I've asked a community. I put in the community a poll in the chat. Do you believe in whole life term? Well, essentially it says whole life term, yes or no. The full question is, do you believe in whole life terms, yes or no? Because I'm kind of interested to know whether or not people support the idea or not, or whether or not people would prefer an alternate sentence. Now, if you think no, when someone gets a whole life term because perhaps saving taxpayer money, you'd rather a short drop and a sudden stop, or a needle of happiness, or a quick zap with a
or we could go full on. We could go full on old school and put them against the wall.
Yes,
though
for a game of dodgems. Yeah,
I thought you were going to say dodge bullet.
Dodgems sounds nicer.
It does. It does. You're right.
I couldn't think of a better one. There's another one, isn't there, where you throw a ball at somebody. Not dodgeball, but the tennis ball against the wall.
Oh, wall ball.
Yeah, call it wall ball. Let's go with that. Just the ball's shaped like a 50 cal.
Yeah, just 45s against the wall.
45s. My apology. I don't want to waste.
Oh, you can do whatever the hell you want. You could take a 308 if you want to.
Ooh, that sounds painful.
Yeah. It's
Is that the big chunky one?
That's the one that people will use in large deer hunting and stuff like that usually.
Oh, great! So less chance of being able to successfully dodge them. Okay, and if someone can think of a creative way of talking about the chair where someone zaps you with it with some sponge on your head, By all means, be creative in your description. I will happily rephrase what I've said. But
always fun to engage.
There were two other things in the UK, but I think perhaps a short break is required. Go on.
Well, if we want to, we can actually bring about actually a similar story where we have a Marine in the United States.
Lieutenant Colonel?
Yes.
I put two articles in our tab.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up his name, and I got
Lieutenant Colonel Scheller, isn't it, or something?
Yes. He is currently serving a military. Yes, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller. If you guys remember, if you were watching American politics, after the Afghanistan pullout fiasco, this gentleman went on and posted a video basically railing against what he believed was an improper method or improper way of pulling out of Afghanistan. And in doing so, he criticized Biden and his commanders. Now, they have him, I believe they say they have a gag order on him and asked him not to speak. He did. They incarcerated him. Says his father, who appeared on Tucker Carlson's show a couple days ago. He is currently, I believe he's in a military prison, or he's in a brig rather, waiting I believe it's an insubordination Article 32 preliminary hearing. So this is a bit interesting because I don't know how military cases go compared to a citizen case. But if I were to use my best guesses and my best inferences, I would say that you lack a certain amount of rights that ordinarily would be afforded to you as a citizen. Because there's
differently. They're always they're answerable to whoever it is that's their commander.
Because one of the things he said that, quote, the date, time, and location of the proceedings have not been determined. Lieutenant Colonel Scheller will be afforded all due process. Yes, and also he has a right to a speedy trial, which at the moment he doesn't even have a court date set. He is just sitting incarcerated. So I bring that point up because I don't know if they're actually allowed to do that.
So, the argument is that he violated a direct order. So, insubordination means that military always treats people differently. By the way, it's not me agreeing, it's just what I remember.
Yes.
So, because he broke military law, he is not treated the same as a citizen. They never treat people the same way, and so this gets really, really murky. We found out some interesting facts, yes, but... And this is where we have to be a bit equal here with other people that have broken certain rules. And we discuss one... And it's not the same thing, I know. But if someone's doing something against the Commander-in-Chief, you have to apply the same reason to it.
I kind of hate that you said that because it makes me want to immediately jump into something else, but I want to stay on track for a moment.
No.
So, we're gonna put a pin in that thought for a hot minute.
I'm not, by the way, taking a side. It's just a consistency thing. It's a chain of command argument, and it will always be. Was it an illegal order? That's the thing. I don't know. Dead and the damned. I'm not sure. And this is where a lot of the information we've only got a Twitter thread and a New York Post article. Because the other sources.
I would argue no, and the only reason why I would argue no is because they ordered him not to speak. They imposed a gag order on him. I don't know the nature of the gag order. I don't know if it was signed off by a judge. I don't know if it
Mm-hmm.
was just strictly passed down by his commanders without any consideration of the person. I don't know necessarily how gag orders work if they're not signed by a judge. Um, or better yet, I don't even know if that works in military court. So a lot of these things are kind of shrouded in mystery to those of us who are layman citizens. Now, if anybody in the chat happens to know a bit about the military proceedings, I'd very much like to hear from you. But I would have to ask: do you believe that it would be unlawful for a lieutenant colonel of the military serving actively to voice his criticism of a mission that has already passed?
Right.
Do you think that is a something worthy of a jail sentence, at least for now?
I'm going to have to sit on the fence because I really am not sure.
Because I'd like to think that we have a certain amount of freedom of speech and a freedom of protest, though I know, again, this is complicated because military, you sacrifice a lot of your rights.
You do. You are an object, a cog in a machine, nothing more.
And they really don't give a shit about you. Summary Article 15 for personnel not in line duty order. I don't know what that per se means. You have to go into a little bit more detail. But in my opinion, I think that if he gets, for example, if he were to say that and he were to get dishonorably discharged,
Mm-hmm.
which is a potential situation that will happen as a result of this military court, then he becomes a citizen and he's allowed to speak his thoughts and opinions. I don't see where they can't extend that because the result ends up being the same. Even if, even under the UCMJ, Scheller still has the constitutional rights and has the right to plead the fifth and speedy trial, and they must provide a lawyer. Okay, cool. I figured as much.
That actually provides a lot of information. In the UK, not the same at all.
Right.
No, military.
I'm glad to know the military does not rob you of your quote-unquote inalienable rights. I say quote-unquote because...
So I'm very impressed. If that's the case, then why has nothing happened so far then?
Because, well, have you seen the state of American military right now?
Doesn't matter. They have a right to a speedy process, therefore this has to happen. You don't get to delay it cause...
Right, but who is going to make that a big deal?
Couldn't tell you.
That's honestly the problem, though, because, okay, if the military says, okay, your criticism is wrong, right, and the brass agrees and the Joint Chiefs of Staff agree, you're not getting anywhere, right?
If you keep
the
someone
president,
too long, then he can argue undue detention or whatever you call it. And you're essentially in a hold until if you're stuck in limbo or purgatory or some shit, you can actually argue against that, and that could impact any case against you for breach of order.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the fucking point of holding him?
I think it's because it's I don't want to call him a political prisoner, but it kind of feels that way, right?
I get what you mean.
It feels as if they are saying, you've spoken out against the Der Führer, and we must punish you accordingly. We haven't decided how we're going to do it yet or when we're going to do it, but to prison with you. Lucky, because there are other people who complained similarly in resignation letters, which is why I think that's why they couldn't hold certain other ones. There was particularly a gent who had 19 years in the military who basically resigned in the last year therefore foregoing his government pension, which is usually what people are in the military for that long. It's those benefits that you get after a 20-year-long career in the military.
Really?
For him to resign on the 19th year is truly somebody who is trying to stick to his principles, even though the unfortunate means is that even after 19 years, you're not going to get diddly squat from all the sacrifice you made.
I mean,
all the moving around, all the
Scheller is
bullshit.
giving up a $2 million pension, which is pretty impressive.
Well, him too, I think.
After 17 years, he loses that.
Mhm.
That's painful.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. It really is something sad, but it reminds me of a conversation that I was having with some people at work. So, in order to get onto certain military bases, you have to fill out a document called a DD 3150. Now, the 3150 is the certification of vaccination. Let me read one of the sections from the Privacy Act of this document. DoD is authorized to collect the information on this form pursuant to Executive Order 13991, protecting the federal workforce and requiring mask wearing, and EO Executive Order 12196, Occupational Safety and Health Program for federal employees, as well as 10 USC 113, 10 USC 136, 10 USC 7013, and a bunch of other fucking DoD instructions. Principal purpose. The information is being collected and maintained to implement coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19. That's not what the 19 stands for. Workplace safety plans, including DoD's COVID-19 testing programs, and to ensure the safety and protection of the DoD workforce, workplace, and other DoD facilities and environments consistent with the above referenced authorities. Basically, this is the result of Biden's executive order requiring federal contractors to comply with a vaccination mandate. What's bizarre, and why I was even mentioning this to my coworkers, is because their routine use explanation says, while the information requested is intended for internal purposes, in certain circumstances, it may be necessary to disclose this information externally. For example, to disclose information to a person, organization, or governmental entity as necessary and relevant to notify them of, respond to, or guard against a public health emergency or other similar crisis, including to comply with laws governing the reporting of communicable disease or other laws concerning health and safety in the workplace, adjunctive bodies, blah, blah, blah. So, I have to basically, if I were to fill out this form, if I were a federal contractor requesting to enter into a DoD workspace, I would have to basically forego all of my HIPAA protections at the behest of any governmental entity. Because should the DoD, should I sign this and give it to them, they would be allowed to give out, in this case, a vaccination history to report communicable disease. Now, it does not specify COVID there. It says communicable disease. That's any disease. That's the flu.
Bit of a poor choice of words, don't you think?
Oh, it's intentionally actually the right choice of words for them. They know what they want. They know what they want to do. And it's not necessarily, it does not have anything to do with just COVID. And the only reason I say that is because we know, based on the Time magazine article and several other articles that had came out since the 2020 election that proved that the media basically conspired with one another to create a shadow campaign against Donald Trump. That we then found out that the White House was coordinating with entities such as Facebook and Twitter to coordinate against quote unquote misinformation. Do you find it odd that this document exists and that YouTube not too long ago banned any conversation basically talking down about vaccines? Not just COVID vaccines, mind you, any vaccine.
No, I don't.
And its efficacy.
It's quite the coinkydink. I'll agree, but I do think it's very sus. But then this at least reminds me of something else I mentioned to you, where I said that. So I, in passing, watched a clip of Crowder. I don't normally watch many political commentators at all. I had a Lauren Chen video pop up and I thought I'll give it a listen. He came up afterwards and he mentioned that currently people are trying to get rid of the filibuster. If you get rid of the filibuster, you can then just push your agenda through without any opposition, essentially. And
yes,
so that doesn't surprise me that this seems to, and it's very conspiratorial, I know, but it does, you know, I'm doing a little interlocking of my hands here, I don't know why, but it all does seem to tie in quite handily, really, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, and it's really sad.
It is. I do want to address something. Didn't say all communicable disease, so they can protect the HIV folks when they want to, but also dox conservative HIV. So I do think there is a danger there that you are right. Poisoning the well of sorts, shaming, and so on.
Oh, surely.
And you've seen that with the Larry Elder stuff. Come on. No one called that out as racist. Well, unless you
absolutely not.
Unless it was us or conservative commentary channels.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not, since I'm not conservative, shut up, DM Lamont. Stop it. It's... You know, it's...
DM Lamont, if you want to talk to a conservative, at least come talk to me.
Right? He hasn't responded to me on Twitter yet. He's a bitch. But anyway, yeah, it's a dangerous area. But then that's where I like that when he first got elected, he talked about unity and healing, yeah?
I remember that.
More recently, Biden said, I'm going to meet with Democrats to discuss how we push this, and then some shitty plan he's got going on I don't care about. One of those policy plans that has not build back better, some other stupid idea. I assume in the middle of a meeting while saying two dumb things. First of all, he's got to sort out the debt ceiling, which I believe is being pushed back. You mentioned to me earlier before the stream. The second was he got his booster jab, and he said, when asked what's the percentage of Americans being fully vaccinated would then get America back to normal. And he said 97 or 98%. And my first thought was the first thought I'm sure everyone else had. You got no fucking chance, mate.
Without a fucking doubt in my mind.
Let's ignore New York and their unelected governor for a moment who's pushing through the National Guard. Let's ignore that. That's a dangerous area to tread. Instead,
there's so many things I want to say about that, and I will be this weekend, but I'll tell you about that after.
97, 98% though. I'm sorry. How the fuck are you going to manage that? How? You can't do it without a mandate, without executive powers, emergency executive powers to deploy the National Guard.
I want to make something very, very clear, and this was one of the biggest concerns that I had regarding that GD3150. There is a thing where, of course, if you're not vaccinated, you don't have to necessarily report that, but you must undergo testing. If you refuse to get testing, then they can then seek out your employment and terminate it as they see fit.
So I want to raise something else within all of this then that's relevant to it is connected. So one of the reasons the National Guard are being deployed is because some of them are trained in the medical field. The reason why is because loads of people were furloughed because they won't get vaccinated themselves.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
Well, okay. Here's one of the biggest things, because I was discussing this with my fiance earlier. Okay, your grandma falls, yeah,
yep.
and you need to rush her to a hospital.
No.
And instead of the doctor or surgeon who is going to help your grandmother get back to normal, you instead have Warrant Officer fucking Perkins, who is going to be taking care of your grandma.
Warrant Officer Crumble. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And you tell me how confident you are going to be letting that go. And you tell me if you're not a little bit concerned that your grandma may not make it.
Now, for the sake of the chat, I'm sure you will have different feelings on your loved ones. My grandmother, I only have one left, is a cunt.
Okay, maybe not you then.
I love her to bits, but she's a cunt. So she's such a fucking battle axe, right? She smoked all her freaking life, like 10 to 20 a day. Never had cancer, never had breathing issues. Fucker got sepsis a year ago, and I was like, oh, she's gone. And then I found out she survived, and I was like, how? How? They were sorting out a DNR for you. And you said, no, I'm not done yet. Fuck all of you. I'm going home.
That's funny. That's fucking hilarious.
She's such a battle axe.
It's stubborn people. It's stubborn people, dude. Stubborn people just don't die.
She's also like 3 foot tall or something. She's so short.
Ah, yes, the tiny bag of evil.
Terrifying person. Terrifying.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, Mix, you are right when it comes to who you'd want your... This is where the issue is. When you've mandated everyone working within that field be vaccinated, and then you furlough those, or you
no, fuck up, straight up fired.
Yeah,
dude.
It's not
even
fired.
They're fucking fired.
They haven't called it fired. They called it made redundant, I guess, is the nicer way of putting it. All these medical experts who could work there I'm not. We're going to have to be very careful, by the way, with this, because of the nature of the subject. You know why? Because it's the subject itself.
Oh, yeah.
So it's such a dangerous area for us to talk about, by the way. But you are risking... You have arguments about health on one hand, you have arguments of work on the other. And it is a line down the middle with people what they believe. And I refuse to I don't give a shit. I quite frankly don't care.
Okay, mandate aside, right? You are facing a labor shortage in this country.
You are
facing a labor shortage. Oh, yeah. You are facing a labor shortage, and in certain places you are complaining that hospitals are overrun with breakthrough cases. Okay?
Or
fair.
They're overrun with cases of COVID, but now also overrun with cases of every other illness under the fucking sun because you prioritized COVID and made it so everyone else can't get treated for their issues like cancer.
Not to mention, certain elective surgeries are not so fucking elective, by the way, but they called them elective.
I just want my job, okay?
Yeah, I know you do. Baby, I know.
Baby wants a pair of double D's, man.
Yeah, it would look great. With the tentacles and all that. But you have a labor shortage, and you have the audacity to fire people or to remove them from their daily duties.
Make the hole deeper. They make the hole deeper.
And they will say that it is conservatives, that it is Trump supporters, that it is the other, essentially, that has caused this problem.
While they take the Trump vaccine.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I wanted to. That's a good point. I had made a tweet. I think it was last week or the week before that I will only be referring to the COVID vaccine as the Trump vaccine.
Can I ask you?
Just piss off liberals.
Can I ask you a somewhat personal question with regards to that? Because the nature of your job, have you had to take one?
Yes, I chose to. I chose to myself.
Which one did you go with?
Moderna, actually.
Interesting.
But that was my own choice. Mm-hmm. My doctor, when we had discussed it, I asked him. I'm like, okay, give it to me straight. The guy's a very, very intelligent guy. He's been working in in COVID ERs during the whole pandemic as well. In addition to his practice, so he's a pretty stand-up guy. I respect him and I respect his opinions. So I asked him. I was like, okay, give it to me straight. What does this thing do? And he went through talking about how there's a certain protein spike, and the mRNA vaccine basically makes it so that the COVID vaccine can't, or the COVID virus can't actually properly attach and replicate the cells. And I was like, cool, awesome. That was based on the studies that was fucking, let me see, earlier this year. So things might have changed, and I think the Delta variant does screw with some of those thoughts. So,
right.
This is what he told me at the time. And he gave it to me straight. He was like, I took it myself. Me and my other doctor friend, we even waited, and we actually took the day off on the second dose, expecting side effects, and we didn't get any, which is interesting because he's an older gent.
You chose to. That's reasonable. I never spoke about this because I didn't want to. I did not want to get that jab at all. I really didn't. But then the government announced COVID passports, didn't they? And that meant, and I have gigs coming up. I was meant to go to Skindred on the 2nd. Not going to that because some retard's going to it and I don't want to see him. I was going to go to Powerwolf next week, but again, that same retard is there.
Fuck
so
you.
Not going to that.
Fuck you. You better tell me how that goes. I love that fucking band.
What, Powerwolf?
Yes.
I've given the ticket to Skog. I'm not going. Again, the same retard who's gone to Skindred is going there, and I'm just like, I can't be dealing with that. I can't. No, I want to have fun, not look over my shoulder. So my next gig is Ailstorm at university. They've got Glory Hammer and Wizard Throne, basically all Christopher Bowes projects on one card. But the government announced COVID passports, and I was like, I don't get a choice because I want to go to gigs. I want to go to concerts and enjoy myself. So I end up getting Moderna as well. The Trump vaccine. And I had a rather interesting side effect because, as is widely known, I'm an insomniac. Well, for a whole day I felt tired.
Ooh.
Like sleepy. But it was a Sunday and I had stuff to do. I was sleepy. I had initially a bit of discomfort in my arm. My brother-in-law, by the way, also got it. I had to wait an hour for him to turn up to get it done because he's going to the gig with me. And we were there, and he winced, and I was told if he fainted, I had to carry him home or something. And I put my arm against the wall, because I realised there was a bit of discomfort in the arm. I lifted my arm up like John McCain, and then just slid it up the wall further and pushed to get the muscles back up where they wanted to be. But other than the sleepiness, I was fine. I didn't want it. I didn't have any issues. I did not want it. And then the next day, the very next fucking day, the government said, we're not going to push ahead with the COVID passport unless death tolls or numbers go past a certain percentage. This has been my TED Talk.
Yeah, feels bad, man, doesn't it?
Fuck you, cunts. I was so pissed off because I didn't want it. I never wanted it. And I keep saying I don't get sick, and people say, oh, but you might. I really don't. I didn't need it, didn't want it, and it fucks me off to no end that to go to a concert, I'd have to have it so I wasn't treated as a second-tier citizen, a second-class one, as if somehow a caste existed and I was deemed unworthy or unfit to attend venues where I was not a risk. And people might say, oh, but you might be a super spreader, you might be asymptomatic, and blah, 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 blah. Shut the fuck up. I didn't want it.
Hold on, I need to go off on Damien. So the minute it's mandated, you abandon principles. No, because it's a personal choice. The principle is that it is your own fucking decision to get or not get the vaccine. Nobody is abandoning principles because they choose to get a fucking vaccine. Okay. Now, if Meg told, or if I told Meg, no, man, you gotta get this, but I was espousing, freedom of choice on my Twitter. No, then that's me abandoning my principles because it's mandated, and he better lick the fucking boot. No, absolutely not.
I just want to go to gigs. I want to enjoy. I like concerts. I have behind me on the wall a bunch of cork boards with hundreds of gig tickets. And I don't do them now, which is a shame. They do E1s instead. I like going to live music shows. I always have, and I hated that to be able to go, you had to get it. Now, I don't have to get the second one, and I have no interest in going. But I have protection from Nurgle. That is true. I saw no reason to get it in the first place. I did think it was a bad idea, and it's not a principle thing either. It's I was put in a position of I've already paid for these tickets, and the consequence is I can't go. I can't do something I really... And I don't like... I'm not... By the way, I will never tell anyone else they should do that. I made the choice for me. Never for anyone else. I just don't like that to be able to do that, I had to give up something that I had to do something I didn't want to do. It just annoys me.
The other thing is, there's a lot of things that people don't want to do that they do anyway, and it has nothing to do with fucking principles. You think I like getting up every fucking day and going to work? Absolutely not. But I do it because I have bills to pay. I'm not abandoning principles because I go to fucking work.
You adult. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I know.
Okay, we're going to get massively derailed by this. I do apologise, by the way, for talking about this. I don't like talking about coronavirus in the first place. I didn't like the position I was put in. That pisses me off. I don't want to engage. To be honest, another reason why I haven't engaged too much in politics on this channel, because I'm still pissed off about the whole thing. It still fucks me off that you can say that you have a choice, but the choice was either do it or you can't do it. Do things you enjoy. You hold that person hostage, and that's not fair. That's not right, and that's morally bankrupt. Absolutely is. So instead, I want to, because I wrote on the title of the stream Electric Boogaloo or something. UK Fuel Shortage 2 Electric Boogaloo. Last week was meant to be called that. I think I changed the name of the stream to Manny for President or something. Oh no, it was Tax the Rich. The Spotify one was called that. You're trying to get pregnant, Chaos. We can help. No, we can't. No, we're not going to help.
No. I will get in a lot of trouble if I even entertain that.
This is a child-free zone. We will have none of that nonsense here.
Best of luck to you.
Oh, Jesus. Right, so in the United Kingdom, people have been urging Boris to recall Parliament, and the reason why is because of a fuel and food shortage. Now, emergency action, to be honest, should have been taken to speed up the visas for about 5,000 HGV drivers. Right? That should be sped up just so this can be given the green light. I know for a fact there is an issue with visas at the moment because I know somebody who's in Texas trying to get a right to stay in the UK, and it takes up to 12 weeks for her. And it's not right. It's a horrible system, and it takes far too long. I don't know why it takes as long as it does, quite frankly, but it is becoming a problem. Parliament should be recalled. It should be recalled to deal with this. I don't know how they're going to deal with it, though. And I think it's a strange thing to be in because, and as is pointed out, there are panic buyers in this. I'll say this from experience what I saw. And Damien, I don't think he meant to seem as cross as he was. I do apologise on his behalf. So with when I was walking to work yesterday, I found it quite funny because I noticed the petrol station in my town. One of them, there's only about 2, I think, in the town itself, but the one had just been restocked, and everyone must have known because there were it's about 400 meters from the seafront, cars all the way up to the seafront, and a lot of them weren't queuing up for fuel. They were just stuck there because they couldn't get out. And on the way back home, I noticed, oh look, cars from the other direction. They're also stuck. And that queue went about 1.5 miles back to where I lived. And I thought it was hilarious. Because these people are queuing up to panic buy fuel. And the petrol station tried to condense it, tried to stop drivers from buying too much. So in the sense of like limiting how much you can spend. £30, I believe, was the limit. Some, of course, ignored. Some turned up with carrier bags.
Wait, hold on. £30.
Yeah.
How much? How much does that get you?
Oh, God, I couldn't tell you. I don't drive.
Oh, fair. Okay. The reason I say that is because
it's
I've seen
$1.39 for a litre, I think, isn't it, per litre? So.
That's right. That even makes it even harder because I don't know fucking liters to gallons.
Yeah,
I
still no. What you need to think is it's still, it's not 30 liters you get. I honestly don't know. I don't drive.
That's fine. It's just because I was trying to think of like how ours is doing. Because
how
you
is
get like
$50
$50 for like, I'm in a good place when it comes to gas.
Yeah.
But for me, filling up 14 gallons is about $38 to $40.
That's not bad.
That's not bad where I'm at. I'm in the low end though. When it comes to gas prices, I'm sure that if I were in Jersey or California, I'd be looking at probably double that. If
you're lucky in UK, you're getting maybe 4 gallons worth of fuel. Maybe if you're lucky, but every day they have refilled, and every day they are empty. To the point, my sister tomorrow was meant to drive to Surrey from Kent to deliver a gift for an aunt who doesn't know she's getting this gift. Instead, my aunt is coming here tomorrow not knowing she's going to be given a gift in the form of a barking thing. And that's a lovely gift for them, by the way. An expensive one, lovely one regardless. But it's to the point where this county as a whole of Kent is almost dry. This does impact the shops, yes. I've noticed it a little in some supermarkets, in the bottled water being a big one. So I've actually, down here, I've got 3 1.5 litre bottles, so I've got just over a gallon's worth of water. There you go. Thank you, Chaos, in the chat, for 4 litres to a gallon, roughly. That helps me immensely. So essentially, I've got just over a gallon, and it's that will last about a week because it's cooler this time of year. I don't need as much. So I had to, but I bought them one at a time over 3 days, and they sit there, and I just don't touch them that often. But people are panic buying some things, and they're doing it because of the short. The thing is, it's only the driver issue. It's not supply issue. It's not Brexit. It's false, fake news consistently and perpetually peddled by an incredibly biased media who still don't quite get that their voice is remarkable, but their voice is peddling not the truth.
Do you think that they actually don't think that they have this power?
Oh, I think they know they have the power, so I misspoke. But I also think they know they're telling a lie. I think they know they're lying because it sells, and they're not interested in the moral arguments for what they do. They're interested in the bottom line, and the bottom line is they need to get more people to click their articles because news is dying in the formats that they usually use, i.e. paper. And I get it, but no, I don't give a fuck about your profession. I care that people need to stop panic buying fuel with carrier bags and wondering why it disintegrates.
Why is there gasoline all over the back of my truck? I only lined it with plastic.
Why is there a streak of rainbow going down the road? I don't know, but let's put our lighter near it and see what happens.
Yeah, man.
Oh look, it's a DeLorean fire streak thing. It must have gone 88 miles an hour.
Don't even get me started on people who fill up their gas tanks and then or do the stupid gas thing, and then as they're driving away they fucking light up a cigarette.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Usually you respond with Darwinism will see them surely taken care of.
I'd like to believe that's the case. I don't, as I've said many times, I don't drive. I don't get in cars that often. I'm never at petrol stations beyond walking past them. I have no horse in this race. I find it hilarious while I'm walking. Everyone was doing the memes of a car stuck at a petrol station, and then the meme I was going to make, and it was Elon Musk laughing, and it was underneath laughs in Tesla or something, you know. But then I realised the meme under that should be laughs by walking.
Mm-hmm. Laughs by electricity runs on fossil fuels.
Yeah. I don't know. I couldn't be asked to make the meme. I was going to, but then I got lazy.
That's fair. You know what's interesting is this Brexit argument that people have been using. It baffles me because we too are experiencing similar shortages. Now, the news media in the UK is telling us that it is because of, well, Brexit. America didn't participate in Brexit. So why would we be having shortages that almost exactly mirror that of the UK? Perhaps it's because they have nothing to fucking do with one another.
Well, there is the tangible connection of drivers and work visas. Yes. Beyond that, no. There is another issue here with other shortages of employees. Yet we have a vast swath of unemployed Brits who aren't doing these menial jobs because they're choosing not to. And I'm sat here like, you fuckers need a job and you won't do a job? You know, where I came from, you'd get sanctioned for that by losing your income, i.e. the state welfare you were offered. And yes, some jobs require skill.
There was some of those rules.
There are. So it's one of those very strange territories to tread where it's that you can make any excuse you like for why you won't do something, but not give me one excuse why you can do something. And this is where it applies. And I get it. When I was unemployed, my response every single week at the job centre was, when they asked, what are you applying for? And I said, work. Any particular field? All of them. Even ones I wasn't qualified for. I was applying for hundreds of jobs a week. Why? Because I don't give a fuck. I wanted to work. I couldn't care less. Didn't matter to me. I didn't get a job, and that upset me. Yes, maybe I applied for too many jobs and didn't make it all look all super spruced. I think I did do the best I could. I just got bad luck. That's all it was. Nothing to complain about. You just got to get on with it and carry on trying. But then I remember at the same time when I was unemployed, there were others. There are different types. So you have some that want to work, that will do anything they can to get a job. You have others that, I mean, they're on the fence. They want to work, but until they get into that groove, they're not too sure, you know? And then you've got those...
I mean, that's very true, though. Humans are very much creatures of habit, and I think that's one of the biggest issues.
I think it plays a huge part. And then you've got the last one. The people who don't want to work, but will happily say they want to work, but never actually try to work. And then they'll insert any of their bollocks excuses. They can claim, I got a dicky knee, I deserve disability. And continue with the lies, because it doesn't work. I'm sorry, but we have PPI that exists, personal blah 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 blah. Some kind of allowance for those who are not able to work. I can't remember. PIP, sorry, personal injury payment, personal something payment. I don't know. It doesn't matter. PIP. But they are. I've been to one of those things for my sister. They are incredibly thorough with their questions. And if you can show even a sign that you're capable of working, you're going to go to work or be made to go to work. And you can say you don't want to work, but that's not going to work with anyone there. So, quite frankly, using these bullshit excuses, all you're doing is showing that you don't want to work. You shouldn't be looked after by... It's a strange area to tread, Pip. Thank you, the dead and the damned. I do appreciate that. It's a strange area to be, because then many of us will say, well, you shouldn't be getting this state welfare then, because this state welfare is only there to help you while you try and get a job. Unless unless you're proven to be incapable of working, you should be working.
Right.
And yes, most people in work don't want to work. I know. I by the way, I'm an odd one. Me and Bering had this discussion years ago. Both of us love to work. I love working. I work 7 days a week technically, not because of YouTube, because of cleaning work. YouTube, I take tomorrow off, right? And until the evening where I do a live stream, I'm not on the computer. And personal independence, thank you. I genuinely am not the type to take time off. I don't like it. I don't like not doing anything. But that's me. I've always been like that. That's why when I was unemployed, it hurt so much. Because I hated not being useful. I hated not accomplishing. I would focus my attentions on
without
gardening.
purpose.
And yeah, I for example, this garden here is massive. I de-weeded the garden in 3 days, and I promise you, the mountain of weeds I pulled, as tall as me, and as well, probably not as thick as me, but certainly quite wiry and annoying, and I burnt the crap out of them. I was so happy. All the C's. I was so happy burning it. But then when it was done, I was like, what do I do now? Because I had nothing to do. At the time, I barely could play video games. Didn't give me purpose until I found Euro Truck, and that suddenly, well, Dave introduced me to it.
Euro Truck gave you purpose.
No, it did to an extent, because it took my mind off what was not going on around me. And it didn't feel like something where if I couldn't complete it either. So it became immersive enough that I wasn't idle. But at the same time, I hate not doing anything. And I know I've recently got my passport. I'm very proud of having it. I can't wait to go somewhere. Yeah, of course, that'd be great. But in reality, the idea of taking time off terrifies me a bit.
Next, coming to my house.
I don't like taking time off. I'm not sure I can commit to this. I'll be sleeping top and tail at least.
Huh?
What?
Oh, okay, yeah. We'll make something work. Okay.
I said I was sleeping top and tail.
Oh, yeah. No, I have a fucking spare room.
That's where Ash can sleep then.
Oh, I see. No, the
What do you think? What do you think about the So, I do agree the government should have acted quickly in getting the drivers. That's obviously an issue. You got more lorry driver tests coming next year, so this shouldn't be such an issue in time. The government's already saying they want this to be the most festive a more festive Christmas than last year, which is hardly it's not unattainable. Last year everyone was locked the fuck down. But do you think
yeah.
Literally, we had to on the 23rd, I believe, go and rush to Dover to go and get my sister and her 3 children and her fiance and bring them back here so they could have Christmas here with us. It was hell on earth, and I was very busy.
Sure
but do you think that perhaps the government failed to act quick enough, considering they had options available to push this through faster? But do you think that Brexit played a part in this?
Well, okay, so I'm going to answer the last question first. Do I think Brexit had a part to play in this? No. Do I think the government didn't act fast enough? I also think no, because it is not the onus of the government to compel people to work. That being said, it is also not the onus of the government to ensure that people can not work. Okay? So it's a lovely little thing that perhaps is idealistic of me, but I wish to believe that if you want to have a lavish lifestyle and not work and live enjoying your days every single day, you have a couple of options. You can either hope to God you win the lottery, which good luck. I would also like the luck. Or you can work your ass off for several years doing a high-paying job that you can retire with. Now, some people don't find that quite fulfilling. So they decide that they want to game the system and not work. But I have a interesting question for you. The 2008 housing crisis that we had here in the U.S., that also impacted the UK, right?
Sorry, I was having a drink of water. Please repeat.
I said the 2008 housing market crash in the United States.
Oh, that
over
here.
That also impacted you guys in the UK, yeah?
Fuck yeah, but RBS was the main problem with that one.
Okay. Did people seek out work as much as they did or rather, did people often seek out work at that point in time? You know, like I have to
No,
pay these bills.
no,
No.
no,
Okay.
because Labour were in government at the time, and they had a benefit system that made it so you could work a full-time job and still be earning less than someone getting state welfare, and the state welfare departments weren't chasing people up to get work or do things, you know? There wasn't a cap on benefits, so some were getting able to get 100 grand a year from claiming all these various benefits, and that's what led to lots of people having children and living their lives on benefits, or not their lives, because when the Conservatives came in 2 to 3 years later, they just shat all over it and like, this is Labour's ridiculous spending policy of, I know what we'll do. Well, there's still a crisis, but we're gonna fuck it up for the future generation by having another government be forced to bring in austerity. And before someone says austerity was a political decision, of course it was, because there was no fucking money. Carry on.
The only reason I ask is because in 2008, I remember that my mother, who was working in a school at the time, was on the chopping block for getting let go because obviously different places were all struggling with money.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my mom saying to other people while she was on the phone that she would literally essentially would beg the administration to let her work. She said, "I will clean toilets. I do not care. I need to maintain my benefits and my paycheck, whatever it takes." Okay. Contrast that with the situation now, and I think actually this may be where the difference applies. Over here in the U.S., people got so much to not work, right?
Mm-hmm. We used to.
We were able to do paycheck protection.
Yep.
So if you worked for yourself, remember that conversation that we were having last week about paycheck protection? Yeah.
Yep.
So there's that you could apply for. You could, obviously pay unemployment benefits, increased unemployment benefits at that, because several states were able to implement policies for that. Because so many people lost their jobs due to basically social distancing, having to shut down locations, and it was no fault of the business or their own. So the government was like, "I guess we'll help." But individual states also, gave increased benefits, some of $300, a week,
Right.
in addition. And so people ran with this, right? People who didn't lack any skill, any ability, basically were like, okay, yeah, sure, I could make more not working and collecting all these paycheck benefits.
This is what we had under New
Than
Labour, and it was
working.
tragic.
Yeah.
That's
I
why.
would like to answer that question on the poll. The answer is yes.
That's why. You're welcome. That's why the Conservatives they had to bring in a benefits cap. They had no choice, because that's why people were like, "Oh, universal credit's just bad." The thing is, universal credit had to exist or be created because there were so many different departments that were responsible for a form of state welfare. Universal credit put it all under one thing. Individual applications are means assessed based on information available. I swore I would never apply for state welfare ever again, because I don't want to be anywhere near that shit if I can help it. It's just not. It's not a nice experience. So I don't understand how some people can sit there and be like, "Yeah, but I just want them. I just want to take money people pay into the system. I don't want to contribute, or, I just want to." And I know that sounds really elitist and harsh. Having spent, and I worked this out, up until the moment I turned YouTube into a full-time job, of my adult life I'd spent maybe 7 years unemployed total. I never wanted any of that, and it hurt my resume is a mess because of it. Although the last 7 years, because of self-employment from cleaning, and then the last, I'd say 3 years on YouTube full-time, my resume looks, well, obviously I don't put this on there, can't do that, but I at least have been working, I've been paying my taxes, and I feel like I'm doing something, But those 7 years, and I've always been very harsh towards people who didn't want to work. And I knew who they were because you could tell. And I had no sympathy for those people. And there was okay, so the best example I have is when I got my job at Lenovo. I'd been unemployed for a year. I got in via a 2-week training course. I had to go to a horrible college, and I was wearing my university hoodie. I got bullied for that. But I did this training course. I aced it because I'm really good with solder. Okay, phone circuit boards, no PCBs they're called. I have no issues.
I'm familiar.
I have no issue fixing phones back then, especially. And I got the job. I was working nights. A few others survived the course, but over a course of about 4 months, they all dropped off. And one dropped off because he walked into the men's bathroom, and because he's quite short, his head he slipped over and went head into the hand dryer. And he then didn't quit, but he took time off and then sued the company to try and get them to pay him damages. But the thing is, he never hit target when it came to repairing a certain number of phones. He just clearly didn't want to be there. He really didn't. He didn't want to do the job. And I get you don't want to be invested in that, but he didn't want to work at all. And I know this because when he left, about a year later, he and I spoke, and I asked him what he was doing, and he said, I'm on job seekers and housing benefit, and I'm all these other benefits and injury bonus payments. And I'm like, are you okay with that? And he's like, yes, I earn more money than you. That's not how you earn money, my friend, but all right. By then, I was in charge of a dispatch department. I wasn't paid much better, to be honest, but I was really enjoying the challenge. I wanted to move up the ladder. That's what I was trying to do at the time, anyway. And then all these other people fell off, and they all fell off for the same reason, because they weren't interested in working. And when it comes to them being put on benefit, I get we have an obligation to help people, but if they're not willing to help themselves, it's a really dangerous area it's a really irritating area to be in. And I don't know how governments... And so when governments introduced caps, I was all in favour of it, because you shouldn't be living better than somebody that works their arse off.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you can now say, but minimum wage isn't the same as a skilled worker and all these other things. I get the means assessed aspect of that, but the generalised points should still stand.
No, definitely.
And thank you for I honestly, 6 to 8 years. I don't include... I'm with you 100%. I'm with you on that, addict, 100%. Carry on. Sorry.
No, that's all right. No, I wanted to bring that point up because I think it's important to look at the differences, because I know that a majority of people right now are literally just riding the coattails of benefits, and a lot of them are up, but they still refuse to go back because instead they're using their position to try to instill change, and that change is not coming in the way that they want it to or the way that they expect. So unfortunately, that means that a lot of us are reaping the unfortunate benefits of their stupidity or their laziness. It is causing an issue. I don't know how it is in other countries that aren't the UK or the US. I don't know how it is in like Japan, for instance.
Japan's having still got an issue right now with coronavirus. I know that, but beyond that,
I think they still have they're having transmission issues.
Beyond that, I know very little about what's been going on in Japan. I listen to some music from bands over there, but they're all metal, so not baby metal. I'm not. No.
I understand. I'm partial to GAC tea in particular.
Love Bites. I saw them supporting Dragon Force, and they're also really hot.
Nice. But yeah, that's kind of where I want to go with that. But we are at 6 o'clock, and I think that we've covered everything that we wanted to cover. So, do you have anything to shill today?
Yes, I do. I would like to promote, although it's now ended, the poll. I now can confirm that 78% of you I believe, that Trupsy Wupsy is in fact delicious. 77, my apologies, it's 78%. 78% of you believe that Trups is delicious. Yeah, 9 voters. I couldn't vote in it, sorry. But I'm sure you voted for yourself, though, of course.
I did immediately.
Nice. Election fraud. I got you.
I mean, he can provoke himself.
I know that. So I do want to sort of on one last thing, I guess. I noticed when I was watching the concurrent viewer part of this, around the time we started talking about the vaccinations, the jabs, a lot of you didn't tune in. You tuned out, and that's fine. I hope that by listening to experiences of both of us, you understand the situations we've been put in. And I didn't like that position at all. I hated it with every fibre of my being. To be treated in such a way or made to feel such a way is not a pleasant feeling. And it's a horrible feeling that I hope you can understand. Instead of just walking away, I get it. It's not... either you disagree fundamentally or not. I keenly await the one or two comments we'll get, probably flaying me for my position being hypocritical, perhaps.
Please refer to my rant.
I would say, for the sake of it, I have never taken a position on it. I in this stream have said I'm not in favour of it at all, in the sense of the position I was in, and I certainly don't support it being mandated. But that's just me. I wanted to insert this because I did watch it dip from 45 to 30, and that was a very coincidental time because it was around the time you and I were talking about this. And that's fine if you're not interested or you don't like what we said, but if what you've done is listen and then just decide to walk away rather than engage, who's the bigger person really? The person too scared to say something, or the person who's at least confident enough to air their grievance? And I aired my grievance quite comfortably, even if people don't agree with it. And 77% of people are 100% correct. Chops is delicious. So to promote anything, I'm streaming tomorrow on Omegon Plays, which is a gaming channel I have where I just stream trucking, because I mentioned it earlier. I meant to do it once every week, but I've gotten a bit lax of late because of other priorities and projects away from YouTube. So I am streaming there tomorrow in my horrible orange Iveco. If you're interested in that, a casual chit chat for 2 hours, which is how long I stream for there, please consider joining us. We greatly appreciate it because it really helps the chat, and at the same time it helps me, because if there's not many people engaging in the chat, then I kind of flag. What about yourself?
So I plan to have a video out by the end of the weekend regarding the vaccine mandates and the a bit more onto the complaints that I had aired during this stream. I want to go a little bit more in depth with my thoughts and or get it into a little bite-sized piece that you can share with your friends.
Nice.
To either make them, you can either tell them, look at this fucking idiot, or you can say, look, he's right. I don't care which. I get engagement either way, and I do enjoy the argument.
You do,
but that's it. I do. But that is it for me. So with nothing else, I want to thank everybody for joining, and for RW Bimble for the super chat. But with nothing else, please say goodbye.